Hey guys, got a few RPG horror stories today. First one off is about a player who really just doesn't understand that you should make a character that wants to be with the party. So, a player made an insufferable, undead character with almost zero background, or motivations to go on an adventure, or join any kind of party, and most importantly, to engage in any sort of fight. Since he didn't want to give his character any of this, I told him some motivations, based on what little background he made up, that would have been enough to justify his character going on an adventure, and to join a party and engage in combat. It's important to note that he's the type of player that justifies everything that he does with, "Well, that's what my character would do." He either forgot these, or didn't even listen to me in the first place. Because we had a conversation a couple of days ago that went something like, "So, your character doesn't want to be a member of the party." "Correct." "So, you don't want your character to be part of this game anymore?" "No, I want to keep playing him." "So, are you willing to make the effort to take the motivations that I gave you, or invent some of your own and use them to be a member of the party?" "No, because that's not what my character would do." "So then what do you suggest?" "They're the ones that have to make the effort and possibly act out of character to take me into their party." Like, bruh, I'm still trying to understand the thought process behind all this. At what point do you think, "Well, I'm the one actively making the effort to not be in the party, because it's what my character, to which I gave zero motivation to, would do. So they have to make the effort and act out of character to take me in." And make that make sense. Needless to say, he's already rolling up a new character that has actual background and motivations. There seems to be an awful lot of these types of stories and people as of late. If your character has no motivation to join the party, then congratulations, you just made an NPC, a background character. Make something that makes sense with the context of the group, because otherwise it's not really going to work out generally. And if you are just making a character as such because you have second thoughts on playing D&D and kind of don't want to, because I've seen a couple of cases like that, then have the gall to just speak up and say you had second thoughts and you don't want to play anymore. But that's it for that one. The next one up is a rather short one up about a projectile weapon. So, this is an awful experience that I had some years ago. A friend set up a Pathfinder game in her house with 4 players. Most of us came straight from work and hungry, so before starting, we ordered pizzas. The game started normally after eating most of them, and it went well for about 1.5 hours. Shortly after, one of the players bolted up and started to projectile vomit across the table. Right onto the character sheets, dice, books, and some of us. Everything. There was no warning, no complaint of feeling sick, nothing. After the initial shock, they started profusely apologizing, and tried to clean up the mess frantically. The host was pissed as hell. Not at the vomiter, but at the incident, and just told us to let them clean up after themselves. We obliged, and got them another book as an apology. And we've never had another issue like this, thankfully. Quick, roll a con save to not vomit yourself. I've got no idea what could have caused this. Maybe food poisoning that they themselves somehow only caught? I don't know. I can't imagine that they would have ate the pizza if they were gluten or lactose intolerant, though. If anyone has any good ideas, I'm all ears. But that's it for that one. On to the next one, which is about a bird person. So, this was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. I was running a short homebrew campaign that I had written. The specifics aren't really important, but there was a problem player. She was quite obviously playing an Aarakocra, but wouldn't come out and say that. I knew, of course, because I was the DM. But to the other players, she described her character wearing a hood and long robes all the time so that no one could see her features at all. Not just her face, but her entire body. The only clue that they got was when her hands or feet, can't remember which, slipped out of the rope while she was doing something, and they saw talons. Someone immediately called her out on being an Aarakocra, which is fine, just odd that she was hiding it, and she insisted that no one could possibly know that. Fast forward to later, during the campaign when the party was actually adventuring, during the first major challenge, which was trying to scale a castle wall, she had the idea of flying a rope up to the battlements for everyone else to climb. Oh great! She's finally going to let this pointless mystery drop, I thought. And how naive I was. Instead, she said that she walked away so that none of the other players could see her. They decided that they didn't like this, so they followed her. She said that she was going to use the bathroom, and everyone looked away. Then she said that while everyone wasn't looking, she was going to fly up to the battlement, tie off the rope, and come back down, without anyone seeing her fly. I told her that is ridiculous. Everyone at the table was shaking their heads or laughing in annoyance. So she said, "Okay, I won't do it then." So now the entire party knew that not only was she an Aarakocra, that could fly after all, but that she wasn't going to do so, even though it was an obvious and efficient solution to the problem, just to protect a pointless mystery that had already been solved. Fast forward a half hour or so, everyone was now inside of the gate tunnel. The rogue identified a pressure plate that he thought would trigger a rockfall trap, but he failed to notice that there were rock elementals hiding in the ground as well, so they attacked. During the fight, the Aarakocra, who was a cleric, kept attacking with her weapons, staff, hand crossbow, and etc. Everyone kept asking why she was doing that when she was a level 12 full caster. She said, "Because I'm an attack cleric." I don't think I have to explain how stupid that is. Cue facepalms and groans. The barbarian almost lost it and started slamming his head against a wall. His character was about to die because the fight was taking way too long due to one member doing essentially nothing. The cleric decided that this was a bad situation and that she needed to do something. Her solution? Make a shove attack on an earth elemental. Her intent was, "I want to push the earth elemental onto the pressure plate and activate the trap so that the trap kills the elementals." She rolled a nat 20. The earth elemental, a nat 1. Only, everyone else including her was still inside of the tunnel. The trap activated, the rocks fell, and everybody almost dies. The cleric, who was missing 40 health points, then cast heal on herself, instead of the barbarian, who is now missing about 90. The rest of the campaign continued on in this fashion. People tried to educate the cleric about having more offensive options than basic melee attacks and shoves, but that fell on deaf ears. She barely cast any spells for the rest of the campaign, unless it was to heal herself. At the end, when we were going through the epilogue and everyone was saying what their characters did in the aftermath, she described her character taking off her robes and flying gloriously into the air. This was her big reveal, only no one gave a shit because they already knew and despised her character anyway. Needless to say, she was never invited back. Oh boy. Alright, well, as someone who likes to play cleric, it pains me every time I see one of the two most common forms of cleric problem players. You either get the player who thinks that they are basically just playing a fighter and will continue to just do normal attacks, or the ones that will only ever use their spells to generally benefit themselves. Sometimes a combination therein, such as this one. There's plenty of useful spells that could be used offensively or defensively for not just you, but the whole party. You've got Holy Weapon, you have Guiding Bolt, Aid, which allows you to be selfish but also help a couple of teammates. You have Spiritual Weapon. And then you get to make it worse by the fact that this player seemed to watch too much anime or movies or something and think that this mysterious addition to the party that is only wearing a robe and trying rather pointlessly to keep their character's identity a secret was a good idea. It could work, but when it's becoming an obstruction, which this very obviously was, and to the point where kind of in and out of character they're already saying that they know what they are, then why persist at it? I do also have to wonder if the DM actually tried to sit down and talk to them or not. It just mentions that they tried to educate the cleric on how to play better, but if you talk to them and they aren't improving, then you basically just have an NPC in the party. But that's all I got this time. So, as always, have a good one.